So are we recording? You can start recording because Flash.
Yeah, we're recording.
Flash has calmed down. He didn't like his breakfast this morning. He ate about 2/3 of it, and then he, started huffing and puffing and said, bring me a peeled grape or something. I don't know. And he's been sitting here for the last 15 minutes going.
So, acting like he normally does.
Yeah, but I didn't want.
Wait, you sound really weird. What's going on? Did you change something?
No, I'm doing the same thing I do every week.
Oh, because that sounds really strange. You sure you didn't change some setting or something somewhere?
No, I wouldn't even know what to change.
Oh, hang on.
What?
Oh. Here it is. You've got to. There's a reason why we put the.
He's back.
Hi. It's a big gag.
So we're in the same hemisphere.
Yes.
And we're going to be doing a whole bunch of new things. The podcast is going to become a weekly thing again because we actually managed to do it. And we have a bunch of stuff to tell you about, but not yet.
Not yet.
Because we have a fully edited podcast video.
Two of them.
That we're going to show you first. So stay tuned.
That we recorded before I came home.
Right. So we're going to show
it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to see that first. So stay tuned. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have new stuff. Yay!
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to our podcast. We've been away for a few weeks.
Yeah, we have. We thought.
Yeah, we thought.
You were coming home.
There is a lot of thinking, and
no. and you didn't. Although now the EU has passed a resolution that is going to allow Americans to enter the bloc, even though the infection rate in the US is still way too high. But
vaccinated travelers, that kind of thing.
Not just vaccinated travelers. Actually, it's anyone.
Oh.
But the individual countries make up the decision. So some countries are saying you have to be vaccinated. Some are saying you have to quarantine for 10 days. Some are saying you just have to have a test before you come, and then when you step off the plane or something. And some countries just don't need the tourist dollars.
Yeah.
And that's the Netherlands. So
I never thought I would lament the Netherlands' negative reaction to tourism, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, they just passed a law, some anti-tourist laws that have upped the fine for peeing in the streets and public drunkenness and all that kind of stuff, because we've really enjoyed the fact that British frat boy, stag do, hen do, crazy drunk assholes couldn't come to the country for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And now they're back. And they're not back yet because we haven't let them in yet. But when all the travel restrictions come off, we want to make sure that they behave themselves. And you don't get to, basically they come over on a ferry with their own car and sleep in their car.
Yeah. So
they're not participating in the local economy. And then they harass prostitutes and pee in the street, and they're public drunks. So there's a bunch of new laws that are encouraging good tourists who want to come and see the museums and
sure.
See all those kind of, there's wonderful things in the Netherlands to see. And if you want to visit a local prostitute, it's legal, but don't harass them and then don't pay them.
It's yeah.
And don't pee in the street, and
don't sleep in the park.
Don't sleep in the park, and don't
Yeah.
Hold your liquor. God damn it! And people here drink too, but you don't see people staggering around puking all over themselves. So
it's true.
Anyway,
I
so
can
the
think
Netherlands,
of, 2 occasions, I think, when I
and it was
heard.
both times it was me.
No, I mean, hearing some people passing by in the street at 2 a.m. doing the whole "show me the way to go home" thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's
But
fine.
twice.
Drunk, yeah, drunk people walking down the street going home being loud and happy on a Friday or Saturday night is fine.
There was one annoyance that I remember, and that was on the train back from Brussels,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the Ajax fans after their football game, and they had won, and they sang the team song, just like 2 bars of it over and over and over for an hour.
In the quiet carriage.
Yeah, and they had their takeaway big cans of Wicked Strength Lager.
Yeah, but
That
that's on the train. Don't
yeah,
have to be on the train. I mean,
yeah, just anyhow. So yeah,
but yeah,
the
so
point
the
is,
the
it's
moral of
just we're
the story
counting
is,
down the weeks.
yeah, Portugal and Spain are throwing open the doors and saying, "Oh, we really hate you, British tourists, but we'll let you in if we could have your money, and you'll give us COVID and new variants of COVID that we won't be able to get over. But come." And the Netherlands is like, "Yeah, no,
Stay over
stay
there.
home, stay
But
home."
France is
So
opening up too, right?
yeah, France. Well, France is the biggest tourist destination in Europe, apparently.
Oh, I did not know that.
Um,
Must
yeah,
be
yeah.
must be Nice for them, huh? Huh?
um, so
People are gonna
yeah,
think we
so
set that up. It's like scripted and all that. And
no, we don't script anything.
you would
We
never
don't.
allow that kind of scripting.
No, I would have struck that in the edit in the rehearsal. um, yeah, France is opening up. Germany is opening up to American tourists, but not Brits. Not letting the Brits in. Because they have a variant that nobody wants to talk about.
Where's your
Um,
Brexit now, bitches?
yeah, but I don't even get me started. The shit, oh. So Northern Ireland's falling apart just in time for marching season.
Oh, isn't that
Um,
lovely?
mm,
Well, let's get on to how
they've
we're
gone,
coping.
they've gone through 3 DUP leaders in 3 weeks.
You predicted
We're on
that.
the third one. We're on the third one.
You predicted
Yeah,
that.
well,
I mean,
it's
everyone knows
it's
it's their fault.
it's a mess. Yeah, yeah, and the
Um,
fact that they're taking bribes doesn't hurt.
it's a banana republic
Yeah,
with a different
yeah.
accent.
Honestly,
So,
honestly,
in celebration of our forthcoming reuniting, reunition. What is the word?
reunification,
There we go.
reunification.
Um, I've been buying stuff and having it shipped to the house.
So you can have lots of presents when you get home.
There's that lovely USB keyboard that
Mm-hmm.
just arrived, the MIDI controller, so there will be
Mm-hmm.
music.
Sitting right over there.
I've just been talking to our lovely friend Paul Wickham on Facebook.
Yay! Home.
Hello, Paul, about guitar rigs, and he has talked me out of the instrument I was planning to
Okay.
buy. So, because anyway, for a variety of reasons, because I don't have an electric guitar, never owned one. I've had acoustics, but I've never had an electric guitar, and by God, I want one
Mm-hmm.
so that we can do our covers of various 80s new wave things. And anyhow, I sent him some links to instruments I was looking at, and he's like, mm, mm, mm. But
Is this going to cost me? Is this going to cost me more money now?
Okay.
I'm
Beetje.
getting that.
Een beetje.
I'm getting that Bang & Olufsen. Then you just.
Yeah.
I'm getting the frickin' Bang & Olufsen.
Well, you have
if
to
you're
have
getting
something. You have to have good speakers to play the music through.
Yes, exactly. And I'm going to have 4 of them, and they're going to be funky looking, and also, I mean, they are the funkiest looking speakers on the planet, and they're also amazing sounding speakers.
Yeah, exactly. You were talking about getting the B&O system. I'm like, there's 4 speakers. I could use a pair of those for studio monitors.
You could.
Talk
You
about
could.
perfect transparent reproduction.
Oh, you have just the most beautiful studio setup ever.
Oh God, I
A
stumbled down a
couple of
YouTube rabbit hole last night and onto a video of a studio in Las Vegas called The Hideout.
Mhm.
Oh, I mean, there's a reason why it exists. The guy's worked with everyone. He got his start with Mutt Lange on Shania Twain's
Mhm.
albums. I mean, he'd been in the business for ages before that, but he blew up with
Mhm.
working with Mutt Lange on Shania Twain's albums, and now he's produced and recorded everyone. And oh my God, this studio is just
Mhm.
ah. And he's a drummer.
I know. Most studios I've been in, it's like unfinished plywood,
Yeah.
and carpet, ugly, ugly leftover 70s carpet on the walls, different colors because they got
Oh
remnants.
no, that you would want to sleep in this place, sweetie. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's
Well,
so
so let the record show that I am buying the
record.
the yeah. Let the record show that you're getting a new guitar rig and I am buying that showroom model because it's
Yep.
not new. It's highly, highly discounted showroom model of
Who
the
cares if it has dings and isn't, as long
yeah,
as it.
my first CD player was a Bang& Olufsen CD player that I got in New York that was like half price
Yeah.
because it was a showroom model and it had no dings. There were
No,
no dings.
and that because it's Bang& Olufsen, that as long as if it functions,
Yeah.
it'll be perfect. And the great thing about Bang& Olufsen is that you can order parts.
Oh yeah.
So
I
so if
mean,
something
this
doesn't work, then I have a multimeter and a soldering iron, and
mhm.
that's all you need to fix it. Okay, I
this
need on this circuit board, I need R10. you know?
this Bang& Olufsen, the Bang& Olufsen CD player, my first CD player that I bought when I lived in New York, I bought to go along with the secondhand Bang& Olufsen that I bought from my boss,
Mm,
which was an 80s model Bang& Olufsen that predated CD players.
hmm hmm
And I went to this store and bought this showroom model, heavily discounted CD player. And they gave me a little device that would make it work
The interface
with,
box, yeah.
yeah, the old system, the system that predated,
hmm
and I didn't even ask. I mean, they could have like charged me as much as they charge for the CD player for the thing that makes it work, and I would have had to pay it to make it work. But they didn't. They just gave it to me and were like, "This is how it works," because that's Bang& Olufsen, and that's
Yeah.
why I haven't had a stereo that wasn't Bang& Olufsen since the '80s.
It's
And
dedicated backwards
that
compatibility.
being
It's
said,
lovely.
I haven't had many stereos because they're really expensive. But who needs another stereo when I mean, I had that stereo from when I graduated from college until we moved to the Caribbean,
Yeah.
and I donated it
So
to
from 1933 to 1980 to 2012. So
it's 1933 exactly. Um, yeah, so let the record show that I'm going and scooping up those Beolab 8000s and the Beosound 5 that goes with them,
yeah,
and be damned to you, be damned to you.
nice. Fair enough.
So yeah.
Fair enough. Annoying the neighbors. So what should we talk about today?
Well,
Oh,
I
made to
there was
measure. You've been cranking out made to measure content. Like, whoa.
I seriously can't think about anything else but made to measure. I mean, I had a dream, like I was falling asleep. I remember this happened to me when I was doing graphic design that I fell asleep and I had a dream about changing fonts and realigning graphics and stuff. And you're like, no, I did that all day long. I don't want to do it in my sleep too. Well, about 2 nights ago, I started adding adjustment points to patterns in made to measure in my sleep, and it was disturbing. So I mean, it basically it took me 2 months. It took me 2 months from the day I got the software and had the training to the point where I could actually do what was promised, which is longer than I thought it was going to take. But huge learning curve, absolutely enormous learning curve.
Well, any powerful
And
tool has one of those.
yeah, and I have to take my hat off to the people from Gemini Systems, because they're wonderful. And every time I had a question, my trainer, I would send her an email and she would answer me at night. She would answer me on the weekend. She answered me on Easter Monday. And most of the time it was just a matter of, oh, you made the original file in this crazy outdated version of AutoCAD that no one uses anymore. Well, here's a profile that'll fix all the things that are wrong with it so you could use it in our software. And she just did that over and over again. And one of the problems with converting our files to a new system is we have, over 370 patterns. And some of them are in, pre-64-bit AutoCAD, before there was a Windows version.
Quark.
Believe it or not. Yeah. Quark, no, the patterns are in Quark. Old versions of Illustrator, although the old versions of Illustrator I can update to the new version of Illustrator, and that works. Or, other pattern design software that I no longer have access to. And interestingly, and this will only mean something to the engineers out there, a DXF file is not a DXF file. So a DXF file that Illustrator produces and a DXF file that AutoCAD produces aren't necessarily the same thing. And while they are readable by each, they lose a lot of information.
Huh.
So basically, every time I pull a pattern into the new software in order to make it usable for made to measure, basically I have to redo the pattern again. And yeah, and while I'm in there, because I can't leave anything alone, while I'm in there, I go, oh, I haven't touched this pattern since 2003. Ooh, there's a mosquito. No. Oh, it's gonna kill something with my broken paddle.
Oh my God.
It's got nice bounce though. So now when I hit the flies, it
What?
really gets.
What? They have them at the hardware store. You can
I
go
know,
into stores now.
I got a new one, but I don't want to hit the wall with it because I'll break it. So I hit the wall with the old one, and then I use the new one to just swat them out of the air. Bastards. It's true.
We were talking about DXF files and pulling things in from
DXF files are
2003.
Yeah, so there are pattern files that I haven't touched since 2003 because there was no reason to. So now that I'm in there, I'm like, that piece of text move. Oh, those sizes aren't aligned. Oh my God, those are the old sizes. We have new sizes, and just all this little stuff, because the graphic designer in me can't stand that everything on the page isn't perfect. And
Right.
some of these files I haven't really looked at in 18. I mean, when I'm printing them, I go, oh shit, the top of that grain arrow came off. And you think, I got to fix that. But then you go back to printing and you forget, well, what file was it? I don't know which file it was. So now that I'm in there, I'm redoing stuff, and I've redone 101, 201, 943, 942, 1008, 711, 203, 833. I don't remember what else. Oh, 017.
Ah, yes.
017, yes. 017 and 002. So, as I'm doing making it possible for them to be used for made to measure, I'm improving them anyway. And some of them, I'm improving them radically, like 1008. I really did a number and ended up sending a new version of 1008 to all the people who had bought 1008 in the past, because it was just so much improved. I wanted them to have the new version.
That's a good thing. That's a plus.
Looked up all the old orders, and 1008, 943, 942, I gave all the previous customers one of those. So if you've previously bought a 1008, 943, or 942, previous to May of this year, and you didn't get an email from me saying you're entitled to a new one, drop us an email because I owe you
Info
one.
at reconstructinghistory.com.
Info at reconstructinghistory.com. But the other ones, the other ones that I'm working on, they're pretty good. They just have like little minor things that I want to touch up, and some of it's just, oh, that'll fit better on this piece of paper. Like there's a lot of white space on the paper.
Yeah.
When I was originally laying them out, the printer I was using used 36 by 48 inch sheets. So I was putting them on 36 by 48 inch, and now we print on roll paper, so I can print less than that.
Yeah, there's much,
So-
like 105
So-
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's 2 Archie pages, and you could probably jam that into like a 36 by 60, something like that.
Yeah, or two
Anyhow.
36 by 36s,
Yeah,
So anyway, so I'm doing a lot. I'm going through all the patterns, and I'm, improving them, refining them, testing them. Some of them I'm going back to the models and testing them, and made to measurifying them as I go. And it just takes a long time. So now at this point, I have asked for measurements from all the people who ordered a 017, 002, 943, 942, 1008, 833, 711,
203.
and 203. Yeah. Because those are the ones that are ready to go. And if you've gotten an email from me and haven't gotten your measurements back to me, that's fine. I will wait as long as it takes you, but know that, that's all I'm waiting for is your measurements. And then I can input them and have it done in a day.
Here's a question for you.
Mhm.
How is it? Can you take your own measurements?
Yes, you can. But it's always better to have someone else do it, because I use a lot of back measurements. For example, I had a customer ask me when we first started talking about made to measure. She's rather big busted, but she has a very narrow torso. And she said, how are you going to deal with this problem? And so I take a front bust measurement and a back bust measurement, because the way the garment industry typically does it is they take a bust measurement and then a chest measurement. And chest measurement is like bra strap.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't tell you how much more front you have. Like you could take a bust measurement, like I have a 42-inch bust measurement and a 32-inch chest measurement, and just have a lot of back fat, or you could have enormous tits. There's no way to tell with those two circumferences. So I chopped them in half and said, okay, from underarm to underarm across the front, and from underarm to underarm across the back. And if you take underarm to underarm across the back, you have to put your hands up like this.
Yeah.
And then
that changes the shape.
You change the shape of your back. So yes, it is always better to have someone else take your measurements, or at the very least to have someone else check, particularly the measurements that are on your back or on your side, doing under your arm. I don't do a whole lot of underarm to waist, but doing your underarm to waist, when if you pick up your shoulder like a dancer, you pick up your shoulder and you don't move your side, it's fine. But most people move their shoulder when they pick up.
That's going to change everything. Okay.
Yeah.
It just occurred to me that usually, this go to your tailor, give them the list.
Yeah.
Because if anyone knows how to take measurements, it's a tailor.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a professional to do it. You can just ask a friend who's never taken measurements before. You just have to know where to take them. And when you get back, we need to do a video about taking proper measurements.
Use a dog.
There's a dog.
I'm saying use the dog.
Oh, use the dog?
Yeah.
To take the measurements?
Sure.
Have you met our dog?
What could go wrong?
He could not do it.
He's retired, remember? Right? Okay.
He's totally retired. Oh my God. He'll just go huff, 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 and then turn around and lay down in pants and tell me it's dinner time, which I think he's about to tell me it's dinner time, although it's not even
But it's
nowhere near dinner.
It's
No,
not even, it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
yes, it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm certain he's got that face on that he's going to tell me it's dinner time any moment now.
Give him a cookie.
But cookie, I have a cookie.
Flash want a cookie?
You
He's
stop that. You stop that. Where are you
You're the
going?
one. You're the one who has me on speaker.
Shut up. Shut up. Don't disturb the sleeping giant. Are you going to whine at me? Oh, boy. Now you've done it. Now you've done it. Which deal, Flo? Flashy. He just turned around and his head ended up outside the door, and it confused him. He's like, why am I outside?
He's not smart.
He is not smart. He is not smart.
I can hear him clattering around back there.
Yeah, he's just turned around 3 times counterclockwise and laid down. 3 times Wittershin. And
He wants to unwind the world.
That's his job. His job is unwinding the world.
So
Did
what
I
are
tell
the...
you he went after a bunny yesterday?
No, you didn't tell me that.
There's always bunnies in the yard, and he usually looks at them, and sometimes he puts a ear up, but it's hot, so I have the doors open, French doors open, and he saw a bunny out there, and he went out to get the bunny, but he just like gently loped towards the bunny, and of course the rabbit's gone.
Right.
But I think what he wanted was the fresh bunny droppings, because then he spent a lot of time over in that corner where the bunny had been.
The yard
So I don't
fudge.
think I don't think it was so much as he was chasing a rabbit as it was he has put 2 and 2 together and knows that's where the yummies that are in the yard come from. So I'm going to go right to the source.
He's an idiot.
He is.
Bless him.
He is adorable. He's got his nose under his paw like this now. He's just such a cutie.
So what is the
Anyway.
next? So you've run down the list of the made to measure stuff you've done so far.
Yeah.
What's next on the list?
The next on the list, I am doing 914, the men's lounge jacket.
Oh.
And 928, the step collar waistcoat.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. We have a customer, Luke, who's getting married in October. Hi, Luke.
Hello, Luke.
And he wants it for his wedding. So I said, no problem. I'll do it for you, because 914 is kind of a foundation pattern for a bunch of men's jackets.
Sure.
So once I have 914, I can do 912, I can do 915, I can do 924, and same thing for the West.
No morning coat and lavender spats?
Well,
Luke.
the morning coat.
Luke.
All right. If I was making it myself, I would rather make the lounge jacket than the morning coat and lavender spats myself. But, I have somebody else make them.
Is there no more formal? Is formal dead?
Oh, yes. The answer is yes. The morning coat, that's like another bunch, because the morning coat has a waist seam.
Yeah.
And the frock coats have waist seams, and the tail coats have waist seams. So I'm not doing them in the same batch. And after I do these men's jackets and waistcoats, then I'm going to do the women's Curdles, the soft Curdles, the stiff Curdles, like the Tudor gowns,
right,
and also the German and Italian Curdles.
Oh, that'll be nice.
So those are like 3 variations on a theme, which ends up being like, 13 different patterns.
Yeah, that's a raft of stuff.
Like yeah, it's a lot of stuff that are all, just variations on the same basic bodice. So yeah, those are 2 big groups that are going to be next. So if you're in one of those groups, you'll be getting an email from me shortly asking you for measurements. And be careful with the measurements, because if you're going to hold me accountable for your patterns fitting you, they can only fit the measurements you give me. So you have to give me good measurements.
Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the problem. I can't know if you took these measurements tightly or if you took them loosely, or, I mean, you could tell me. But, like, for example, with 943 is drafted without ease.
Right.
which means it's skin tight.
Yeah.
The sleeves are supposed to be skin tight. The bodice is supposed to be skin tight. So I say, don't give me your body measurements. Give me the measurement over what you're going to wear. Because if you're wearing this bodice over a chemise and corset, I need the measurement of you wearing the chemise and corset,
Oh yeah.
not the measurement of your body, because I'm
Because
not.
the undergarments define the shape then. Why would you, it doesn't even
Yeah.
make sense to take the measurements without those on.
Yeah, but most companies are just like, oh, you wear this size, so here you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
I'm not frickin' Simplicity or any of the other pattern companies that I won't name, who also don't do made to measure. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
we got it going on here. So yeah, you have to take the measurements over anything that you're wearing, and if for some reason, for example, taking 943 as the obvious example. If you want to make 943 into a jacket, tell me that when you give me your measurements,
Yeah, yeah.
because then I will add in ease. Because the way it's drafted, it doesn't have it,
Yeah.
So that's very important. Another thing that's very important, and this comes up more in men's stuff than women's. I had a customer who he was making himself a pair of trousers, and literally on email back and forth, taking pictures and giving me instruction for a month before he got his trousers even close to right, because he stands with his hips thrust forward. And when you stand with your hips thrust forward, it changes where the waistline of the pattern is. And the waistline of a pair of trousers isn't like that. It's like that.
Yep.
So you have to kind of twist the whole thing or untwist it based on where your hips are. So, a person with normal posture stands square. But if you normally stand with your hips thrust forward, the front of your trousers are going to look too small, and the back of your trousers are going to bag like you have no ass, even if you have an ass. So you're going to have like kind of V-shaped droopiness underneath your butt cheeks,
Right.
down your thighs. And you don't look at your back, so you probably never see it. And if you stand like that for your whole life, all your pants look like that, so you're probably used to it. But I don't want your pants to look like that if I'm making you a custom pattern.
Right.
So, but and I can correct for that, although it's not really a thing that comes with a made to measure service. But if you mention it to me, I will try to correct for it. But I can only correct for it because it's not like you can. It's not like you can take a of degree of tilt and tell me what your degree of tilt is.
Right.
If you could, that would be brilliant.
I thrust
but
my
I
hips
don't
forward
think
14 degrees from vertical.
Well, yeah, that would be absolutely fat. As a drafter, if you gave me a number like that, I would love you forever. But
We should do? We
probably
should ship each customer one of those. You know how they've got those scanning devices that archaeologists use on like mummies, that they basically, it's lasers that go around the body and then read all these points, or for a CGI like what they did to Brad Dourif when he was Gollum. They'd
there's
all the points and everything, and then the scanners went. Anyway,
there's a company in DC that makes dress forms. When you go into a booth with all the dots all over you, you wear a leotard and you put the dots all over you, and they take a 3D scan of your body, and then they make you a dress form based on.
That's what we should have our customers do. We should, there you go.
Yeah,
So
I
go
wanted to
out
have
if
it
you
done
want
before we
a made to measure pattern. Go out, buy one of these multi-$1,000 machines.
ship it to.
Anyway,
Have the thing shipped out.
that
Nah,
would be fun.
it's.
It's like when you go into a tailor shop as a gentleman. I don't know if ladies have this same experience, but you always, when you go to a tailor shop, you go in, you have an appointment for say 11 o'clock, and you go in, and they always tell you No, Clarence he's a little tied up. Why don't you just wander around the shop, browse around the merchandise, and when he's ready, we'll start your measurements, your fitting. And and he's in the back like this, peeking between the suits
He's
that are on the
watching
peg,
you.
watching you to get
He's
your
watching you.
relaxed posture.
Because everyone stands up straight when the tape measure comes out.
Oh,
No,
I
they
did. The little
women.
Italian guy, he
Yeah,
poked me in the ribs with a knuckle because I was standing at attention. He's like, knock it off.
yep,
St
yep,
stand naturale, you know. And
yeah.
it,
It's
I still have
women's
those suits.
dressmakers generally. Yes, you do. Women's dressmakers generally don't do that. But I mean, hell, Ilsa does it. Ilsa looks at you and goes, "Yeah,
Oh,
you
she
want
does.
this," but yeah. I mean, you see the pictures of me in the palazzo she made.
Mm-hmm.
The back just drops like
Mm-hmm.
water. It's just liquid. It's
She's
so gorgeous.
good.
She is really very good. Ilsa with Prestige Studios in Eindhoven. If you're ever in Eindhoven and need clothes made, Ilsa is awesome. But most, you go to a place to have alterations, and let's face it, women generally don't have things made, they have them altered. But I've been to places for a prom dress or a wedding dress or something like that, and had and I have really, really good posture. I mean, I was a dancer. I have terrific posture. And I've had the alterations person tell me, well, you stand wrong. And this
Like
goes
that's
back
even
to my
possible.
this is my age-old rant on your clothes should fit you.
Right.
There's this idea somehow in tailoring, which is mostly where men go to get their stuff, you make the clothes fit the man. But in the women's garment industry, the woman has to fit into what you've got.
So
And
wrong.
it's nonsense. It's ludicrous. It's nonsense. Your clothes should fit you. You're not a size. Your clothes are a size. And they should fit you. And if
Yeah.
they don't fit you, it's someone else's fault. It's not yours. So
I mean, there are certain
if you,
designs that, suit different body types better.
yeah, but suit is different than fit. I mean,
Yeah.
I look like hell in a frilly dress. It could fit me perfectly. I'm
Yeah.
still going to look ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's so important for when you order a made to measure pattern to give me good measurements and to not worry about the numbers, because they're just numbers. I mean, and you can give them to me in inches, you can give them to me in centimeters,
Cubits?
whatever you like. I can convert from cubits if
Okay.
you like. L's, I can do L's. I can do Dutch yards, apparently.
Nice.
They're
Parsecs?
Parsecs. That's how many decimal places do you want?
And my inseam is 0.000000, or what is 15 to the negative 23rd.
Yeah, there we go.
Excuse me.
But yeah, it's important for you to give me good measurements, because basically I'm just doing the math, and you have to have the right numbers to put into the formula to get a plot that works for you. And then when we have the plot, it's still a two-dimensional object that has to be made into a three-dimensional garment. And there are vast variances in if you're making this out of a stiff cotton, or you're making this out of a spongy wool, or you're making this out of net, or you're making this out of canvas. I mean, there are huge differences in how those different fabrics behave. So my recommendation is still make a mock-up. Make a mock-up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Make a mock-up and make sure it works. Because there are things like shoulder slope is not really easy to measure. And, where you like your sleeve to bend, I put it in the normal place, but maybe your arm doesn't bend like that. Maybe your relaxed arm position is very straight, so you don't want that elbow angle on the back of your sleeve. Because if you have an elbow angle on the back of your sleeve and you stand with your arms perfectly straight all the time, you're going to have a pucker there. I mean, there are a lot of things that you as a clothing maker are going to want to fix in the final test. And
Yeah.
then of course, when you make it up in the final fabric, then you have to you do a fitting in that fabric. I don't think you should ever get a pattern from anyone and run it up in the size it says on the back of the pattern and wear it and expect it to work, unless you don't care if it looks shitty,
Yeah.
I think it's worth the time to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest worry, I mean, I talked about getting into
I mean, it's
made to
one thing
measure
though.
patterns.
It's one thing if you're making something that does fit like a bag, like a Renaissance shift. It's another thing when you're making the
yeah.
gown that fits over that.
Yeah. I had a customer who I was commiserating with her because she was like, I've done this over and over again, and I just can't get this shoulder seam to fit properly. I'm making this tunic for my husband, and I just can't get it to fit properly. And I'm like, oh, which one? And she said, 010. And she said, I just can't get the wrinkles out. I'm like, that's the Kowloon's tunic. And
Kurgelland. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pronounced Kowloon's.
Oh, is it?
Because it's Danish, and
that's right. Kowloon.
Yeah, you just kind of
stuff some potatoes in your mouth. Yeah.
Well, I mean, these are the people who their own capital city, Copenhagen. They say like they burped in the middle of it. It's just.
Bill
I
Bailey
love the
does
Danes.
a brilliant thing about Danish and Scandi noir. And he ends up going into, because it's Bill Bailey, he ends up going into, imagine if you did Hamlet like a Scandi noir. And he's like, youre.
Oh my God.
It's hysterical. If I can find it on YouTube, I'll put the link in the description.
You just reminded me, it's not Danish, it's more Swedish, but Mel Gedroych on Taskmaster do a film, and she does Scandi noir, and she's like, nay, Copenhagen, nay.
Yeah. If I can find that clip on YouTube, I'll supply that link as well.
I'm sure that the Taskmaster the Taskmaster YouTube channel will have it.
Yeah.
She really made you think she was speaking some Scandinavian language, which I don't think any Scandinavian language says nay. That's Dutch. I mean, the Swedish, Norwegian, Danish word for no is more like nej.
No.
No.
You gotta nasalize it more. No.
No.
Wait, I'm sorry. That's south. That's Belgium.
Yeah. But yeah, where was I going with this?
I had no idea. You were talking about the crown tunic and the man not fitting it.
Kowloon. Yeah, Kowloon. Yeah, and basically the sleeve is a trapezoid.
Yeah.
So it has a straight edge, has four straight edges.
It's not gonna fit the dude without wrinkling.
No, and you sew it onto a straight edge of the body piece, and unless you walk around like this, you're going to have a wrinkle here, because when you put your arm down, the wrinkle happens. And she was trying to get rid of that, and I'm like, if you get rid of that, he's not going to be able to lift his arm.
Yeah.
He'll lift his arm, and the whole thing will go up. And just so you know, my arm hurts when I do that, because my freaking right shoulder is freezing now, and I am not happy about this at all. But I'm going to keep doing it, because I'm not going to let my freaking shoulder freeze if I have to do this 24 hours a day.
Good idea.
So angry. Menopause sucks. So anyway, it's there are things that shouldn't be
fitted.
Fitted
Yeah.
within an inch of their life. And I mean, there's a whole thing like in the historical clothing hobbies. There's a trend, a tailoring trend, and people who are interested in other time periods are going to these classes on how to fit things in the 16th century. And they're really good classes on how to fit things in the 16th century. But then these people are making the mistake of applying it to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's not only is something like Kowloon is what, 11th, 12th century? And, I mean, I think 13th century on the very outside of the carbon dating. I don't remember. I think it's 1155 was the earliest or whatever it was. But, or the Greenland finds. I mean, the Greenland finds go up through the 15th century, but there is absolutely no reason to think any of them were fitted tight to the body.
Right.
No reason. No reason. If you look at the pieces are fairly square.
Mm-hmm.
And to assume, because on mainland Europe, they started fitting things tightly to the body, that they're also fitting things tightly to the body in Greenland, which was a different planet. It's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, it's not like you can make the argument that they had regular and prolonged contact with people from the old country, because if they'd had that, the colony would not have died out.
Yeah. And also, totally different climate. I mean, the Scandinavian countries are not known for their great warmth, but Greenland is another level harsher than that. And so, but yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with people I've been having this argument for over 20 years with people who want to fit the Greenland finds, and do whatever makes you happy. Do whatever makes you happy, but you're breaking it.
Yeah.
If you want to fit something to within an inch of its life, go and find, do something.
Well, make a Curdle. Take 017 and fit it like the Manasseh Codex or something like that. That's a bad example, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and even that. I mean, when I did and I mean, I've been making Curdles for that long too, but when I did the historical notes for 017, one of the things I tried to impress upon people was that what we call a Curdle or a coat or a dress in the 14th century and 15th century is a vast number of garments.
Oh, yeah.
And we have, contrary to what people will say, we do have a lot of extant examples. It's just that they disregard those extant examples because none of them are tightly fitted, and they want everything to be tightly fitted. But we also have manuscript illuminations that are not tightly fitted. And are the exact same dress. I mean, if you have dancing women who are clearly wearing, the codardi, to put the wrong name on it, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. Dancing women in an illustration who are wearing codardis and they're completely flat-chested. That's not because they're completely flat-chested. That's because their Curdles aren't fit in the bust to show their bust. That means they're hanging flat.
Yeah, it enters into some contextual conversations about the art, because yes, okay, art exists of fashionable women with their bosoms enhanced, but one has to wonder whether or not that isn't the fevered imagination of the artist. I mean, look at the paintings from later, the paintings that are otherwise photorealistic from the 16th century.
Or Agnes Sorrel with her little melon sticking out of her.
Right, it's half a grapefruit. It's a grapefruit
Yeah.
cut in half and pasted on a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah.
So you have to.
Monks. They
Well,
didn't see much naked ladies.
but they thought about him an awful lot.
Yeah, they worked up an idea.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyway,
and
it's useful
and
to
and
examine that
and
in
if
context.
you look if you look at it from an art history point of view, you will notice a consistency from the same, in the same manuscript, all of the coteries look like this, and in
Yeah.
this other manuscript, all of the coteries look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's until the 15th century, the late 15th century, we didn't have photorealism in art. It wasn't desirable, or it wasn't, we didn't have perspective. I mean,
Right.
to make the argument, in 13 something was when, and I forget his name. We'll put his name right here. The Italian who supposedly started the Renaissance by inventing perspective. And he invented it to show buildings,
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
until then, you have like the not important people in the illumination being small, and the really important people being tall. And are we supposed to believe that as well?
Or
And then,
that the king and queen wear their crowns when they're in their sick
in bed.
bed.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a asterisk. This guy is the king.
Right.
And well, I mean, and just the fit of their clothing and the position of their bust line or whatever else is not the only thing that's wrong
Yeah.
with many of these illuminations. For example, again, going back to our historical notes, you did me, I think it was for the historical notes for the 14th century Curdle for 017. I know it's in the 14th century Getting Dressed Guide,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's also in the historical notes for 017. You did me, you corrected a picture for me,
Mm-hmm.
where the original picture, you think, oh, she's got her boobs are way up here, and so her dress must be doing that. And then I asked you, draw this person like she's a normal human.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just her boobs being in the wrong place. Her boobs are too high, her shoulders are too low, her neck is a weird shape. And if those things are pointed out to you,
Mm-hmm.
there are so many things wrong with this illustration of a person.
Oh yeah, it's like there's a couple of, I remember, and this is a vague memory, and after we go through this, we'll wrap up here because we've been prattling on long enough. There was a famous illustration that people use as rationalization for a certain garment where the women, their hands, if you like take their fingers and extrapolate the length of the bones, you end up with ulnae and radii. Their fingers in relation to the rest of their body are basically ribs. They're that long.
Wow.
Which means, yeah, so it calls into question the perspective. It calls into question everything else in there as anything other than either a vague shape or artist license. So
yeah, and it it's well established in the 14th century that they were not using perspective,
right,
and so
they weren't using photorealism either.
No, and to base anything, even the Italians, where you have some very, very realistic faces, all of the clothes look like bells. All of the clothes fall from the shoulders,
right?
And maybe that's what they wore. And if that's what they wore, why do you have this idea that you're going to make a tight-fitting garment?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my recommendation is don't do anything before the Renaissance.
So to recap, we have to leave aside these. We were talking about measurements and fitting and stuff like that because of made-to-measure patterns. There are tons of them out now. Check your email to see look for an email from Cass about measurements if she's ready for your measurements. If you've ordered something else, it's coming sooner rather than later. So be on the lookout.
Yep.
And
I am speeding up because as I'm getting better at it, I can do things more quickly.
Achieving mastery.
But Yeah, but it's still, we had 90-degree days here last week, and I was like up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I could actually get some work in before 2 o'clock, and I just couldn't breathe anymore.
Right, right.
So, give me some space.
So as always, until next time, we'll be Bob and Cass. Ring that bell, hit the subscribe button, and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. Links in the description. And we
And
thank
tell
you for
all your friends
Oh yeah,
about made to measure patterns. It's on the front page of the website. There's a new made to measure section.
pass the link around.
And yeah, click it. And as more things become made to measurable, I will put them in that section. And they're also in their normal section with a
Lovely.
made to measure drop down.
In the meantime, we've been Reconstructing History. I'm Bob. She's Cass. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.